Ladies and gentlemen, I give the floor to my amazing Rabbi Zachanov.
Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to say, as a way of brief introduction, is that Debbie is somebody that really, really inspires me. And I don't want to embarrass her, but and the reason why Debbie inspires me so much is because, as you'll soon hear, Debbie's story is that Debbie constantly decides to choose joy and to choose to have an upbeat, positive attitude about life and about her journey and about her experiences. And to me, that's really amazing because we don't choose the hand we're dealt, and we don't choose the circumstances that come our way and the struggles that Hashem chooses for us to go through. But we do choose how we react and how we respond and how we channel those experiences. And as you'll hear for yourself, Debbie has really channeled her experiences and consistently daily chooses joy and chooses positivity, and that to me is amazing. So hi Debbie, welcome.
Hello. Hi.
And, so introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, about your story.
Let me interrupt for a second. So I didn't know Chana was going to start because I wasn't sure if she'd even join us. So in my mind, I was going to say something almost very similar to what Chana said, which is that I chose the title for tonight, which is the story of a cancer survivor and hero, because there's many survivors, but some they carry you with them as survivors, and some become heroes from surviving. And I think that you have turned your story of survival into the making of a hero. So that's why we wanted to hear the story tonight. And I'm really going to let Chana and you take it away.
Oh, okay.
Introduce yourself would be a good way to start, but yes.
Okay, well, hi everyone. I'm Debbie Schwartz. I moved down to Florida with my family a year ago, and we, by luck, just landed up living a mile away from, well, even closer. But we had no clue we were coming into an absolutely amazing community with Chana and Yankee, which we're truly grateful for every single day. Because honestly, as much as I inspire them, as I'm hearing, they inspire us. And really, it was pure luck. Like Hashem put us here. We had no clue that you guys were literally down the road. We Googled the nearest shul, and my husband Jojo went one morning and came home, and he told me about this amazing Chabad center down the block, and the rest is history.
Yes, we're very lucky.
So it goes both ways. We are really, really grateful. But I truly believe, and everything that I've learned along my journey is that Hashem always puts the right people in place to help you with the tests and the challenges that you give him. And I saw it along my way with, different doctors that I met, with the team that I ended up choosing to treat me, with the amazing organizations that are out there that assist you from medical help to financial help to helping with the children to dinners. Like, there's unbelievable people out there, and the kindness that was shown to me and the family along my journey was incredible. And I always said that once I'm stronger and healthier, I'll be happy to give back and help others, because unfortunately, not that anyone should ever know, but a lot of people don't know that when it comes to cancer, the ins and outs, because you shouldn't have to know, and unfortunately we had to learn about it. So yeah, here I am, 3 years out, surviving strong. And like Chana and Yankee mentioned, that when you get tested in life, you can choose what you're going to do with that test. And the second I got diagnosed, well, of course, once the initial shock was over, I always said that I'm doing it with a smile. I even titled my diary "Cancer with a Smile."
Wow.
And obviously I'm human. There was the hard days and the days where I thought, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. But overall, every step of the way, I really tried to find the brightness in it, because there always was something. And you take one of my brother's famous quotes, I don't know if it's his quote or someone else's, that you take your pain and you challenge it with goodness.
Wow.
So
take your pain and challenge it with goodness.
And it's a strong line, and it really helps to take that pain and do goodness with it, and it really helps you to move along in life. and to move along through whatever test it is that you're being tested with.
So you mentioned your brother, so tell us a little bit about your family.
So I come from a family of 8, 5 girls and 3 boys. And unfortunately, cancer hit our family with my older sister, Rifki, who no longer is here with us, but I know she's watching down and I'm sure she's smiling.
What's her name? We'll mention her in tonight's live stream. What's her Hebrew name?
Alta Rivka.
Alta Rivka Bas.
Bas Vegachaya.
So her soul shall have an elevation in the spirit of the merit of what you're doing.
Amen.
Amen.
So Rifki got diagnosed
First with your mother. First start with your mother.
Let's start with my mother.
Grandmother. Your grandma.
Oh, my grandmother. Well, we didn't know growing up. We all knew I'm the second youngest of 8. My grandmother died. Well, my sister Rifki was named after my grandmother. So my grandmother died way before I was born. And we knew she passed away, but I personally never knew what she died from. As we started asking more questions, and as I got a little older, and then it all came out that she died of breast cancer at the age of 50. Obviously, this was many years ago, so medicine was very different. But still, we didn't quite put the puzzle pieces together that this, not everyone's familiar with the BRCA gene, and that it can carry down, and it can carry down through generations, and it can also be carried on your father's side, which is the case in our family.
So she was your father's mother.
My father's mother, yes.
Okay.
So it all started on my father's side. My father's mother, she passed away at a young age of breast cancer. She had 1 daughter herself. And when I don't remember how old I was, definitely maybe like 10, 11, my aunt was also sick with cancer, which we also only found out many years later. At the time, they told us there was something wrong with her arm. But
cancer was considered a bad word, and
yeah, you didn't say that
in the
word.
Jewish community, you don't even say the word cancer.
You don't, but honestly, unfortunately, it's important that family members do share and they do know, so that you can do preventative and you can know your family history and you can prevent, further people. People should be aware and know their family history in any medical
100%,
situation.
100%. It doesn't help anybody. Innocence is not bliss, and it doesn't help anybody not to know, what they
exactly
be aware of.
Right.
But then your mother.
So then my mother is an awesome woman. She lives in London. She buried 2 children, which no mother should ever have to do. But she, I got my kindness from her. I got my mother's always looking to, growing up, the garbage man got an apple from her when he came to pick up our garbage.
That's so cute.
The bus driver got a plate of cake, and she still does that till today, She,
I just have to interject. So when Debbie's kids went back into school from virtual school, every teacher in the whole school got homemade amazing cookies, like hand designed with all the, appreciation. And what did it say in the teachers?
Not all heroes wear capes.
Not all heroes wear capes. I love that line.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah.
Well, I very much got that from my mother. We definitely all learned that from her. She still does that till today. She's not that old in years, but unfortunately life has dealt her a lot and it's taken its toll. But she still, each time one of the kids has a birthday, she schleps to the post office and she fills up with all their favorite candy, and she doesn't matter how much the postage is. Each kid from, whether it's Canada, whether it's Florida, New York, each kid, grandchild gets a birthday package, and she does it with such a full, and she sends a neighbor sick, she still sends in the plate of cake. She's very much, we all got that from my mother. That's where it all stems from.
It's amazing that it's so clearly how she transmitted that to you.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Your mother had cancer?
No.
My mother did not have cancer.
No. Only your father. Your father.
My father actually had a stroke at a young age. So my father's been disabled for many years, but he never got BRCA tested. I'm sure if he was to be tested, it had to be on, that's just where the chain of events, if you follow it, that's where it comes from. But he never got tested. Thank God he never had any cancers. But it does stem from his side of the family. And so my sister Rifki was the first one to get diagnosed at a very young age. I think she was 31 at the time.
How old were you when she got diagnosed?
I remember walking into my first mammogram pushing Yoni in a stroller. He must have been about 2 years old. So I had to have been about 21, 22.
When she was diagnosed?
When she was diagnosed.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously it was still not so spoken about. So it was a huge shock to us. And that's where our world of cancer began.
So let's describe that, if you don't mind, for a minute, like when you found out, and how the family dealt with it, and how she dealt with it, and.
So I still remember where I was sitting. I was living in Crown Heights at the time, and I can actually still picture where I was sitting. She had just been in New York on a trip prior, so we did spend some time together. My Rifki and me were always super close.
She lived in London? Where did she live?
She lived in London, yes. We were always very close, and she had flown to New York for a wedding or something. And when she got home, I remember her telling me that she found this strange lump, and she went to have it checked out. To be honest, I don't remember. I think when it comes to trauma, sometimes your mind blocks out a lot of it, because I remember little bits and pieces, but not the full,
Right.
But yeah, she was diagnosed with stage 3.
Oh, wow.
Stage 3 breast cancer.
Wow.
And her treatment began. We used to spend many hours on the phone. I was far away, but I, was very much involved in it with her. So in a way, when I went through it, it was almost like, okay, I knew exactly what was coming because I had been through it along the way with her so closely. Which in a way, I think, it's kind of like a blessing in a certain sense, because I knew what to expect. Yeah, like Hashem prepared me. Like I didn't know what, more or less what was coming.
Wow.
It was also creepy because it almost felt like it was reliving, things she used to tell me and explain to me. And I used to listen and say, I don't know exactly what you're feeling because I'm not going through it. And then here I was actually going through it. So.
But she wasn't here to help you and hold your hand.
She was not, no.
So she beat it in the beginning.
She did beat it in the beginning. She went into a short-lived remission.
What was that? That was, I'm sure, a very happy time.
It was a very happy time. It was, a big celebration. I want to say she was clean for about, I believe, 2 years. And about 2 years in, she started feeling very unwell. She kept complaining of stomach pain, she couldn't eat. And no one, myself included, I did apologize to her before she died, because we all kept telling her that she had an eating disorder. And there was very similar symptoms, and we were like, no, you're fine, it's nothing, you just have to eat. We all kept, just eat, because that's what you do, just eat, and everything gets better.
Answer to every ailment.
Everything gets better if you eat. So no one really took her seriously until, she kept going back to the doctors. They kept telling her she's fine, it's nothing. If I remember correctly, I think it might have been about Erev Pesach or maybe an Erev something. And at that point, her body built up so much fluid and she ended up collapsing, and they rushed her into the hospital. And it was very touch and go. It was, they had to give her a lot of blood, if I remember correctly. But anyway, at that point, she was then diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer.
Wow. It
was the same kind of cancer as ovarian, but it came back in her stomach. She didn't have any ovaries, and it had come back in her stomach. Again, it was shock. It was a lot of disappointment with the doctors. Had they taken her seriously to begin with, it was dragged on for a very long time until she actually got that diagnosis the second time. But at that point, it was, okay, what are we doing? You're gonna get through this. Now, my sister Rifki, I wish I could show you guys a picture, but you
can show on the screen if you have.
Just so you guys, well, a lot of you know her.
Please share a picture.
So this was 6 weeks before she passed away.
Wow.
6 weeks before she passed away?
She was very, very, very ill over here, but no one would have ever known, because from chemo she never left her house without looking like a queen, and I'm not even exaggerating.
Wow.
She went to chemo dressed in Shabbos clothes.
Wow.
Like, she would spend hours, if there was a simcha to go to and it was important to her, it could take her hours to get ready just to go say Mazel Tov for 5 minutes. But she was me on
Wow, that's incredible. So much strength.
so
Yeah.
much strength,
You know,
so much.
Where is that picture taken? At a wedding? Where is that picture?
So her son got engaged 6 weeks before she passed away.
Wow.
She didn't live to the wedding.
She did not make it to the wedding.
Mm.
She had a dress. She was planning on making it.
Wow.
Wheels.
I remember.
So that was hard. How long before the wedding did she pass away?
Not too long. I mean, they did a very short engagement so that she should try and make the wedding. But at the end, when she deteriorated, it was very quick.
Wow.
It was very quick once,
Right. I remember you telling me about her challah, right? That's how you got into the
So that's how I got into the challah baking, because Rifki baked challah every single Friday, no matter what. Her table was set for Shabbos on Thursday night, like from A to Z. Everything was set and ready on Thursday night, and she baked fresh challah until, if she couldn't stand, she sat at a table and she made it. When she could no longer knead it, she had her husband knead it, but she had to do some part of it. And then towards the end, she couldn't do any of it anymore. She would have my sister make it, then bring it to the house. There had to be fresh challah in her house every Friday, no matter what.
Wow. So I don't know if everybody knows, but Debbie very frequently on a Friday afternoon bakes challah in loads of love in memory of her sisters, and gives it out to anybody that needs, or anybody that can use a smile. So that's one of the examples we were talking before about channeling the pain. That's exactly an example of that, of taking such a painful, I can't even imagine, experience and doing something positive and memorable in their merit, and which is such a special thing.
The interesting thing today is I actually just started listening to a post today, that speech that Rabbi Manis Friedman gave about the soul and where it goes after one passes away. And it actually really taught me a lot. And it taught me, like, all these things that I'm doing now for them, what it does for their souls. And honestly, I didn't fully understand it before today. So it was really interesting to see how it's almost like the soul tells you what they want you to do for it.
Wow.
Like, and then you go and you do it. But from what he explained, it's the soul telling you, go and, do this for me, do this goodness for me, continue. My soul needs it.
Wow.
So it really, yeah.
That's incredible. So it's like their souls are communicating with you the mitzvot that they would like for you to do in their merit, and especially challah that
was something so dear to both of my sisters. Yes.
Because if she passed away, how old was she when she passed away, Rifki?
Rifki was 40 or 41. Like.
And how many kids did she leave behind?
4 children, 4 amazing children.
Wow.
The oldest was getting married.
The oldest was getting married, literally.
How old was the youngest?
The youngest was, at the time, I think he was around 15.
Oh.
She has 3 boys and a girl. She raised amazing kids, and she raised an amazing daughter. Like, her daughter, just has so much of Rifki in her, and how she runs the home now. And I always think how this has affected me. And then I think of my niece and how much harder it has to be for her, waking up every single morning in the same house, the same kitchen.
Wow.
But she she's a very positive person, and a very bubbly, outgoing, and and it can't be easy. We all know it's far from easy.
Right.
But she truly she channels her pain with goodness and with kindness, and she really follows that pattern as well.
Beautiful. Okay, now let's talk about your sister Malki.
Yes.
So tell us about Malki.
Malki was diagnosed not too long before me. I want to say around a half a year before me.
How old was she?
She was in her late 30s. She was about 38, maybe even younger, 37. Also the same kind of diagnosis, breast cancer. I actually flew in to be with her for her surgery.
She was also in London?
She was also in London. She had, her diagnosis wasn't so terrible from what I understood in the beginning. The English healthcare is very, very different to the American healthcare.
Yeah.
And honestly, I got full view into it, just being that I was treated here and they were treated over there, like entirely different worlds.
Yeah. Wow.
So if anyone from England is listening, if you need treatment, and you can now understand why people come to America, because it really is worlds apart.
Really?
Wow.
Like you
You don't want to
hear,
get political. It's sad, but even healthcare became a political.
no, nothing political at all. It's about your best interests and
your personal experience, absolutely.
I got treated at Sloan, and I used to say, I'm going, you know, I got treated at the Disney World of Cancer. I did. I used to say, I'm going to Disney. I went every week. I went to Disney. Like it was, you know, and you can't compare it to the kind of hospital that I watched my sisters get treated at.
Really?
It just is a different system, you know. But Malky had an early diagnosis. Honestly, I got diagnosed not too long after her, so I wasn't so heavily involved in her journey, just because I didn't have enough strength to fight for myself.
You and her were fighting breast cancer at the same time.
She got diagnosed a little bit before me. It could be that I already had cancer and I didn't even know about it yet. But she got diagnosed before me, but then she had a lot of she kept running into a lot of health issues along the way, and then it spread into different places. And I did not follow her journey so closely. I was not as close with Malky as Rifki, I'll be honest. And it's something else that you can't live with regrets, but I sometimes wish I had picked up the phone a little bit more towards the end, because she passed away so quickly and I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. And you know, I hardly had a decent conversation with her for quite a few months before she passed away. She was very weak, and I would text her constantly, but she wouldn't answer. And, you know, only then did I realize how weak she was, and she couldn't actually pick up the phone and send a text message. So I always tell people today, you know, talk to your live siblings, take the 5 minutes, pick up the phone, send a text message. You know, we all lead busy lives, but once they're gone, there's no phone number to heaven. So, you know, do it now.
You're right. You're so right. Let's take the time, no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than connecting.
When she passed away, you already knew that you had cancer. You were on your own treatments.
Malky passed away last summer.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So we just had her first yard site.
Wow.
Okay, so let's talk about you, because to get the order, the chronological order in place here. So tell us your story. And
so I chose to get tested for the BRCA gene. For those of you who don't know what that is, because not everyone does, it's a genetic mutation that can be carried in either a female or a male. So if anyone has any strong history of breast cancer in their family, female or male can carry that gene, and both female and male should be tested for that gene. So once we knew that Rifki was BRCA positive, we were all strongly encouraged to get tested. I did push it off for a long time because it's a very scary thing to know, and it's like what you're going to do with that information once you do know it. I was a mother to young kids, and it was just something to me that was, you know, like what would I do if I get told, you know, that I'm positive? So I believe I got myself tested for the BRCA gene once Malky got diagnosed with cancer. So Malky got diagnosed in 2016.
Well, when Rifki got diagnosed, didn't he say you went to go get tested?
No, she said then she knew she wanted to, but
so when Rifki got diagnosed, I went every year for a mammogram and an ultrasound.
Oh, okay.
I was 22
the mammogram, not the test for the genetic testing for the BRCA. Okay,
right.
So the carriage, I got that. Okay.
And a lot of people think that mammograms and ultrasounds, honestly, they're not very useful. Maybe in older women they are, but in younger women, they usually won't pick up very much.
Really?
Yeah. So, what? So honestly, if you are someone that's younger of age with a strong family history, you definitely have to be doing at least the MRI every 6 months, because a mammogram ultrasound will not necessarily pick up if someone does have cancer at a young age.
Really?
So in my case, I was going yearly until I chose to get tested for the gene, which was not too long before I got diagnosed. I got tested for the BRCA gene, I want to say in August of 2016, and my results came back very quickly. They told me I was BRCA positive, and I got the choice of either I could have done preventative surgery, or I could have MRI done every 6 months. And I chose the MRI route. I was young and I was afraid, and I had little kids at home, and I was not ready to face the thought of going through preventative surgery.
Wow.
So I chose.
So what was that like, getting that diagnosis?
Yes, tell us about that test when you got that result.
It's just a blood test. For those of you wondering, it's really a simple blood test. And
Insurance doesn't cover it though; it's out of pocket cost.
My insurance covered it. I did not have to pay for it. And strangely enough, I always had this feeling that I had the gene. Like I had this inner feeling, like I almost kind of knew that I just felt it.
Which is why you don't want to get tested.
And I used to say to Rifki, like, I have this feeling. And she'd be like, no, don't. And I'd be like, no, I'm telling you, I always had this inner feeling that, I don't know, something told me that I had it. So I wasn't like, I guess maybe I was slightly prepared almost in my mind when the doctor told me that I was positive. But I chose the MRI route. So I want to say it was summer of 2016. And I was flying back and forth between London and New York. I had been in London. I went in with my sister Malky for her surgery. At the same day, I ran across the hospital ward to my other sister. She was having chemo that day, so I got to be with both of them. And then I came back to New York, and I actually found my first lump myself. I always self-checked. There's a lot of different opinions about self-checking. Some doctors tell you not to. Some doctors say you should. I personally always did.
Why would they say not to self-check?
There was a whole thing about it, and I'm trying to remember what.
But it obviously worked for you to self-check.
And I still think everyone should, because I think you should know your body.
Right.
And if you feel there's something there that doesn't belong there, then you go and you get it checked out. Like, we should all know our bodies that well, you know?
As a non-doctor, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm no medical professional. I'm only sharing my experience and everything I learned along the way. So I found the first lump, and I right away went to have it tested and have it checked. And the doctor got back to me, and he said, it's a harmless cyst. Just leave it. Don't worry about it. Just don't bother it. Just let it be. It's a harmless cyst. So I let it be. At that point in my life, I was on this mega fitness journey. So I felt very strong physically, and I worked out every morning at like 5:30 in the morning, and I was on this extreme fitness journey, like lifting, and I was physically very strong. I'm like, oh, I'm healthy, I'm strong, there's nothing wrong with me. In hindsight now, I knew, if you want to see how everything happens for a reason, it did happen for a reason, because had I got diagnosed at that point, I would not have been with Rifki at the end of her life. I wouldn't have been able to have flown back and forth. So God waited until she passed away, and only after Rifki passed away did I get diagnosed.
Wow.
But in the meantime, I found a second lump, and then it was time for my MRI. Well, I missed the whole part of Rifki passing away in between.
Wow.
In terms of myself, it was my MRI that picked up the tumors. It was not an ultrasound. It was not a mammogram. It was not a doctor actually physically checking the cysts and telling me they're just harmless cysts, just leave them alone. It was the MRI. Hence, I say that mammograms and ultrasounds, they don't always pick up in young people.
Mm. So the original cyst that they thought was nothing was the first tumor, and then
was the first tumor, and so much so in those 3 months that we waited, there was already a second tumor.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was actually the same doctor that gave me my final diagnosis at the end of it all.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you feel a little guilty at least?
It was a phone call.
Wow.
It was Erev Purim. It was a phone call, and he was kind of cold-hearted on the phone.
Right.
But I think he might have apologized. I don't remember. But it is, like I said, it is what it is, because to me it was more important that I got to fly to London twice in between that time and be with Rifki and, spend some of the last months of her life with her. So
right, that's true. That's time that, that you can never take back, that you
exactly
had that experience and had those moments with her. You always carry that with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, well, describe your emotions when you found out that you were carrying these 2 tumors.
So it was a Friday afternoon. My best friend from childhood happened to have been with me. She came that year for Purim, and she lives in Canada, and she was with me when I got the phone call. And one minute I was laughing, one minute I was crying.
Wow.
And then we were just taking wacky pictures in the kitchen, and then it's, you know, it's the shock kicks in. You don't know, no one ever knows, no one should ever have to know how they're going to react to that kind of a diagnosis. And then it's just, okay, now what? So it was just, I think I spent more time laughing that Shabbos, just being silly and laughing and just.
The first stage is denial, kind of.
Yeah, like just, yeah. The
Or,
first stage is.
Or you're choosing, or, you know, choosing, like you said from the beginning, that you're going to smile through this.
Yes, that's true, but it's also a normal
reaction.
Like,
it is a reaction that you just, yeah.
Right.
Of course, once Purim was over, and then the actual
weekend was over. Yeah.
The weekend was over, and now, okay, I actually have to start. What are we doing about this? You know. So this is what a lot of people do. So I went back to. I lived in Muncie at the time, and the local hospital was Good Sam, and they happened to have a breast clinic, which might be an amazing breast clinic. So naturally, I went back there. That's where I got my diagnosis, and the doctor sat me down and gave me a treatment plan. Looking back now, it almost seemed like she opened a book and this is what you do. And yeah, this is what we follow. It wasn't a treatment plan designed for me. It was a treatment plan designed for breast cancer.
Standard protocol.
Standard, you know, this is what we do. But to me, that was like, okay, yeah, of course. The hospital is 5 minutes from my house. This is what we're going to do. I was shocked by the fact that she told me I was going to have a lot of chemo. I honestly thought, I think at that point I still thought, oh, they're just going to cut it off. They'll take it away and I'll be fine. I'm not going to have to actually do chemo and lose my hair and go through all of that. I thought it would be a little surgery and, you know, so for me, that was the hard part to actually swallow. And they told me, no, you're going to need a lot of chemo and it's not just a little surgery and, you know, you're back to work the next day.
Right. Did you know what stage it was?
I don't think they staged it at Good Sam, but when I finally got to Sloan, what they did tell me that today in 2000.
Why did you go to Sloan?
Well, so from Good Sam, I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to get treated. And then my brother got involved. And I don't know if you guys have heard of, there's an incredible organization called RCCS, Rifei Chaylim Cancer Society. So we straight away reached out to them and they said, absolutely not. No. Good Sam is, you know, it's a great hospital, but not for her. She needs, you know, top of the line treatment. And they basically took my, you know, they have top doctors that they work with and they take your results and they have people look at them. And based on your results, they tell you what doctors they want you to go see. So very often your first reaction is, no, you go to the first doctor. Yeah, of course, they're very nice. They're going to treat me, you know? And that was my reaction too. And that's most people's reactions. But actually at that point, no, you should be going to different doctors. You should be getting that second opinion, a third opinion, a fourth opinion. At that point, if you wait an extra 2 weeks, you know, nothing's going to happen in those 2, 3, 4 weeks. Rather, go see different doctors, hear different approaches, hear their different treatment styles, you know.
And make an informed decision.
Right.
And make an informed decision. And thankfully, there's so many amazing people out there today that can help you make that informed decision. And it doesn't have to be your first local doctor that makes you feel amazing and, you know, tells you we got this. You don't have to go and get treated with them.
Right.
So in my case, I think I went to about 6 different doctors until I landed. Sloan was my last stop.
Wow.
Sloan was my last stop, and each doctor came up with everyone had a different theory of why they do it that way and why they do it this way. And
Fascinating.
you know, different doctors had different ways. And when I got to Sloan and they explained me their way, it felt like a match, and I knew I was at the right destination. And the whole
an
team,
empowering feeling to feel that, like, you know, really understood the options and that you really were getting the best treatment available for you, and that it was totally your choice, you know, when so much isn't your choice, to be able to.
Exactly. But honestly, it was very much guided even along the way. Like, I don't remember what hospital it was, but before Sloan, I was at a different hospital and they were doing a trial based specifically on my kind of cancer, the exact kind of cancer that I had. And so naturally I thought, oh, of course, let me stay with them. That was the one before Sloan. In the end, I chose not to. And about a month in, I somehow got a letter that the doctor that was doing that trial had left that hospital.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, Hashem really guided me to the right destination.
Right place.
Right.
Literally.
But
Because
God made you go through many steps till you got to that right place.
But I got to that right place. My point is, if anyone is going through, a health thing like something like this, or any kind of health matter, like, don't always feel like you have to run to that first doctor that makes you feel good, that tells you X, Y, and Z. There's so many doctors out there, and make sure you're going to the right one for you and where you should be treated correctly.
Right.
That's very good advice.
Yes. Also, I think that many people do not know about RCCS. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what that is?
Please.
So RCCS, I probably should educate myself a little bit more on them since they helped me so much. But I will tell you, at that point, my brother kind of took over my whole, I was in a little bit, I just got diagnosed. I was in the clouds.
Oh, sure.
And he took over a lot of the phone calls and the forms and the whatever it was that needed to be done. And he was the one that got, was in touch with RCCS. But from the little bit that I do know, they are an incredible organization that I believe started many years ago with someone within a family that passed away from cancer. And they felt the need in the community to have an organization set up that helps people get to the correct doctor, that help people get the correct financial help, because there are many grants out there that help people pay for different things that they don't know that are out there. They themselves are incredible. They paid for my health insurance throughout my entire journey. They wanted me to have a specific health insurance to be able to see a specific doctor, and they paid that premium every single month throughout my journey until my last surgery was over. And then sometime, because they want to make sure that you're really good. Every single month, this organization paid my health insurance premium.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yes. It's amazing. RCCS, Rabbi Cholam Cancer Society, it's a religious organization that's dedicated exclusively to helping with both the medical needs, the financial needs, and the emotional needs.
And also the network. They have a tremendous network.
They have a gigantic network. They assign you a caseworker. They are kind and compassionate, and they literally hold your hand.
In return.
Without asking anything, they hold you.
They have a chapter in South Florida too, if not mistaken.
I'm not sure because I was in New York, but it is possible that they do.
Right.
Okay, so go on.
Yeah, but I was really shown tremendous kindness from many organizations, from High Lifeline as well, from people helping me get to the hospital and back again, to meals, to gifts for the kids. People don't realize when a parent is going through something like this, and there's little kids at home that need to be taken care of.
So how old were the boys then?
The boys were the youngest. The youngest one was 4 at the time.
Wow.
How old was Yoni?
Yoni was 3 years ago. He's 14 now. So he was about 11.
Wow. So talking to them and explaining to them what was going on, that must have been.
I learned from Rifki. Rifki was very open with her kids throughout her entire ordeal. Obviously on their age level, whatever age it was at the time, but she was always very honest with them, and she always kept them in the loop, and she didn't hide things under the carpet like many families do. And I think in a certain sense it really helped them, post her passing away. It wasn't a shock that suddenly, my mother was fine and she suddenly died,
Right.
They knew, unfortunately, how sick their mother was, and she would explain it to them on their level. And I very much took that example, and I did the same with my kids. One of the organizations sent me a book. I don't remember what the book was called, but I definitely have it. Hopefully no one should ever have to use it. But it really was an amazing book to read to kids, to explain to them on their level, what's going to happen and how mommy might feel and all the rest of it. That being said, my kids always say, Yoni always says, he's like, I don't remember you being sick, because I really tried not to be sick around them. I always had chemo on a Thursday, so I think Shabbos was the hardest day, but I wasn't always home with them for that Shabbos. So I really tried not to be, like sick. Yeah, I really did my best not to be, a cancer patient. I don't think I ever considered myself a cancer patient. Like I was, but I never considered myself one. I always
never became your identity. It never took who you are as a person, as a mother. That was always at the forefront of your mind, and being there for your kids and caring for them.
Right, exactly.
And I think that what you were saying about talking to them and explaining to them, that really builds their trust in, I think when everything is unknown, that's when fear totally, really manipulates their minds and leaves them, very traumatized. And
right.
the more they can understand, that builds their sense of security and trust.
Exactly. So honestly, I'm all for like being open and honest, and obviously whatever age level it is that you have to explain, age appropriate. But I'm all for honesty, and honesty goes best, even with kids. Explain it to them on their level, be honest with them, and
Right.
Beautiful. So you started in Sloan Kettering.
I started at Sloan.
They started speaking, I swallowed. That's okay. So tell us about the journey. Going to Sloan Kettering every Thursday for chemo. You drove from Muncie to Manhattan.
We went from Muncie to Manhattan. It was.
How long did that drive?
It was like an hour, no?
Yeah, depending on the traffic. About an hour? It used to take us about an hour. I think it used to take us around an hour. But we would make a day of it. We would go into the city and, go for a walk. And just, stroll around. There was unfortunately usually a very long wait because it was chemo day for many people.
Wow.
But yeah, we would go into the city, and initially I had two kinds of chemo. So my first group of chemo, I believe, was once every 3 weeks. And then once I finished, that was the very strong chemo. And then the next round was weekly for about 10 weeks.
Wow.
So those ones were harder, but I did have an amazing friend. I don't know if she's watching right now, but if you are, Miriam, I will be forever grateful. She committed every Thursday. She would drive me in and she would stay with me. And sometimes it was many hours, the waiting time. Wow. But she would take me every Thursday for the weekly one. If Jojo couldn't take me, she was on call and she made it her job, and she took me in every week and drove me back home. Usually the second I left the chemo, I was out cold in the car because they give you Benadryl to make sure you have no side effects to the other drugs that they're giving you. But yeah, every week she would drive me in and drive me back. And
isn't that around the time that you met Jojo?
That is around the time I met Jojo. But he was very much, well, we've known each other for many years, but he came back into my life around that time. And
Hashem was putting the right people in place.
That's what I said. He absolutely was. So if you truly believe, which I always say faith, it's, people say, yeah, I believe. But if you truly believe, like some people say, yeah, I believe in this, I believe in that. I truly believe that Hashem put the right people there at the right time, because I've known Jojo for years, but we knew each other on and off for many years. And then he would come into my life and out of life. And, and if you ask him now, he was like, no, I was just being a good friend, a good friend who chose to stay along afterwards.
Yeah.
A very good friend.
Yes, thank God. Husband should be a good friend. Baruch Hashem. So describe that whole emotion, that whole period for you emotionally, dealing with the chemo, everything, juggling life.
I think as a woman, one of the hardest parts was losing my hair. That happened after the second round of chemo. And how do people think no one knows how it's going to happen. Some people choose to cut the hair off, before it happens. I didn't, because I couldn't bear the thought of losing my hair. But it kind of happened very quickly after the second chemo. I had the chemo on a Thursday, and I think like maybe 2 days later, I woke up in the morning with, hair scattered all over my pillow, and it was almost like my hair died overnight.
Wow.
It was still there, but it was in a clump, and it was just dead, like it died. I tried brushing it, and it was just falling out. So at that point, I chose to just go and have it, the rest of it, you know, shaved off.
That was very hard. Oh, just lost it.
Oops.
You're back on. You're back on.
Okay, sorry.
You're experiencing the dead hair.
So that was a very traumatic experience. It was, yeah, that was very difficult for me, the whole losing of the hair.
I'm sure.
You started wearing a wig?
It makes it very real.
I actually covered my hair.
Like a shade, like a religious lady.
Like a religious lady. So I had a wig already. But that being said, again, I was shown tremendous kindness. I had a friend that worked in the wig business, and she gave me this beautiful wig for free. Wow. And then she sent me to someone else in the wig business who literally, before my hair fell out, she drew my hairline, and she made me a wig, literally, like it looked like it was growing out of my head. You could not tell. Like I would go to Sloan with it, and they would all be, you know, there was always a party in my room on chemo day. Like, who's going to be there to treat Debbie? Because I came with my, you know, upbeat attitude, and it was kind of
everybody went cookies.
I used to come with cookies, absolutely.
That's the secret. That's the secret.
I always brought them cookies.
When you have that positivity, people gravitate towards you. People want to be around you, and you have that energy. That, you know, that's.
So I'm sure. So that was my room. So there's the chemo side of Sloan, and then there's the oncologist side. Kind of your team works. You know, you get a team, and everyone works kind of hand in hand between your plastic. It's not just one doctor for everything. It's your oncologist, your surgical oncologist, your medical oncologist, your plastic surgeon. It's, you know, a whole team, and the whole team comes together with your medical plan. So yeah, I met a lot of amazing people over there. And how was I feeling? I'm like trying to go back there and think, how did I feel? It's almost like it's surreal. Sometimes you know, that this was me, and I went through all of that. I looked through old pictures because I documented everything.
You did?
I really did.
How did you document it?
I took pictures. I wrote a diary. Wow. I wrote, I posted on.
Did you keep a diary before or journal before, or no? You just started that during that time?
I've always enjoyed writing, but I did start that once I was diagnosed.
Did you find that therapeutic? Like, write down your emotions?
Writing is very, very therapeutic. Extremely therapeutic. Just sharing different emotions, different feelings, and putting it down, and it's definitely an amazing way of expressing and getting that, you know. Even Facebook, sometimes I think like Facebook should get thanked because it's kind of a therapist to a lot of us.
Right.
You know, just sometimes
it's a journal as well, right? Because it has the date, it has the time.
Exactly.
And the picture.
So Facebook very much was my journal as well. Like, I documented every chemo every week. It was another one done, and, you know, 5 more to go, 2 more to go, 3 more. And I had a whole cheering squad, which was amazing to me. Had a huge, strong support system. So
you constantly kept your goal in sight of how you were counting down, you know, each session, each chemo to getting done.
I counted down each session, each chemo. Towards the end, I ran into a blood clot, actually, because I chose, a lot of people, when they have to have that much chemo, most people get a port put in, and they give you your chemo through the port. Mm-hmm. But me being me, I insisted I did not want a port. And
because you weren't a cancer patient.
I was not a cancer patient, and I was not walking around with a port, and I knew what it did to Rifki, and I knew what it did to Malky, and I was like, no, I'm not having it. And the doctor tried arguing with me. I'm sure, I don't know if you remember, but I was like, no, I do not want that port. She's like, okay, we'll try. I'm just telling you that most people's veins usually collapse, you know, at some point. There's only so many times your veins can get poked, and the chemo, no, my veins are going to be just fine. And they were, for the most part, up until, I want to say, around round 8. One of the nurses, I think, put one of the lines in incorrectly, and I ended up with a blood clot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was scary. That was a scary day. Thank God it was just a blood clot from a line that was put in wrong. But obviously, until we figured that out, and I was on blood thinning medications for a little while. But I did not have the port. I made it all the way through with no port. So to me, that was a success. And the other success was
not feeling it every single second of your day inside.
Exactly. And the other success was because my veins got shot towards the end of chemo, we ended up skipping, I think, 2 rounds. She agreed that I could just.
Wow.
So that was a very exciting day when I got to.
You got to skip.
I got to skip the last 2 rounds.
And when you finally finished, you were declared cancer-free, or it took time till you were officially considered?
So what happens is you finish, and then you go in for your surgery. And when the goal is, which is a new Sloan way as well, where they give you the chemo first, and then they do the surgery, because when they go into that surgery, they don't want to see any cancer. Now, a lot of doctors still do surgery first and then chemo because they're like, oh no, let's get the tumor out. But then how are they knowing if your cancer's gone or not? They've done the surgery, they've taken the tumor off, and now you're having chemo, and they're hoping the chemo wiped it all out, but there's no way of them going back in there and saying, oh, okay, she's clean now, you know?
So here that's a clear indication once they do the surgery.
So with Sloan, they give you all the chemo first, and then they give you your surgery, and then when they go in there, their goal is that they don't find any cancer, which, thank God, in my case, that was the case. There was no indications of tumor. They even take out a lymph node, they test it, everything came back clean.
Thank God.
Thank God. So yeah, so thank God, post-surgery, I believe that they declared, cancer-free.
Big celebration?
We had a big celebration. My friends threw me a big party. I celebrate every day. To me, every day of life is a celebration. And I truly mean that. Like waking up every morning, especially living here in Florida, pulling out, it's beautiful. Every day is a celebration. The palm trees, even when it's raining here, I'm like, it's just there's so much to be thankful.
Even yesterday was vacation?
No.
Even when it's raining, she said, yesterday rained the entire day.
Yeah.
So
it only rained most of the day, not the whole day.
Yeah.
What day was the surgery?
My surgery, actually, I'm trying to remember if it was October 22nd or October 23rd. Wow. I'm sure Facebook will tell me once I look in my memories.
That's incredible.
So either it was
if today is exactly the anniversary of the surgery 3 years ago, that's an amazing,
it was
divinely ordained sequence, because we didn't plan it. I didn't know where, when.
Right. Look at that.
Yeah.
So 3 years today.
In the 3 years since you were declared cancer-free, and Baruch Hashem, the first three of many, many, many more, what has the journey been since then?
So it's been a journey. People think that, you have your chemo and then you have your surgery and then you're good to go. But they don't realize that you're left with many scars, and you look in the mirror and you see those scars every single day. And the side effects, many cancer patients are put on medication after, that they have to stay on for 10 years. I personally made the decision not to take it because I'm an educated consumer and I don't just take whatever they tell me to take. I'm not stupid. I do my homework, and I also happen to be a pharmacy technician, so I know a little bit more about drugs. But, I always tell people, educate yourself. Don't just swallow whatever pills they give you and then tell you this is for this and then that one's for the next side effect of that.
Right. I'm sure you do that all day in the pharmacy.
Educate yourself. Know what you're swallowing. Know what you're putting in your body. Know what you're taking. Know why you're taking it, and see if you actually need it or if someone's just making some money off prescribing you another medication.
Right.
So, but that being said, many people are on, for the next, could be 7 years, it could be 10 years. And for me, I was on it for a little bit, and the side effects were
too strong.
They were too strong, and I chose, after everything I've been through, I said, you know what, I want to spend the rest of my days on this world, hopefully many more, but I want to be able to live them fully and as a happy person, and I want to feel healthy, and I wasn't feeling that way. So after lots of back and forth with my doctor, we agreed that I won't be on medication for the next 10 years. But that being said, what was the journey in the past 3 years? I think physically, I could say now I feel very strong and I feel healthy. I definitely tire quickly, and I know who I was before and who I am now. But I think more emotionally is the harder part, the emotional scars and the fear of, God forbid, it ever coming back. And I think that's
You get
the
MRIs twice a year, right?
I'm sorry?
We're going to get MRIs on a regular basis.
I don't have MRIs on a regular basis. I go every 6 months, and they do a full blood work. They do physical exam. I'm under a great doctor here in Florida now. So
They recommended from Sloan that your team there recommended.
My team from Sloan recommended the doctor here, and RCCS approved them as well. So I know I'm in good hands, and I do have my blood work drawn every month, and they do check for a tumor count, which, by the way, is an easy blood test. Had they done that, you know, when Rifki was diagnosed the second time, an easy blood test could tell you if someone has an elevated tumor count, then there's cancer growing somewhere in their body, you know?
Right.
So what's your takeaway message? It's almost been an hour. So Baruch Hashem, you made it through, you pulled through, you're a healthy, wonderful woman with a beautiful family. What's the takeaway message you would give to everyone that's watching? First of all, before that, thank you for sharing your story and for opening up and sharing your story. So for all those that are watching and listening, what would you say to them?
So my biggest piece of advice is know your body so well. Know your body so well that if there's a small change, I mean, obviously don't drive yourself crazy, because there unfortunately are people out there that run to the doctor every day. That's not what I'm saying. But my point is, know your family history, know your own body, ask questions, educate yourself. And, you know, if you are experiencing any health issues, always question the doctor. Don't just be okay and say, oh, okay, of course, that, you know, they did go to medical school, you know, they're there for a reason. But ask questions, know what you're taking, know why you're taking it, know your treatment plan. Don't be a sheep. Don't just, you know, don't just put yourself there and allow anyone to do and to tell you exactly. Go for that second opinion, go for that third opinion, educate yourself.
Well.
And what about the faith and staying strong and like emotionally pulling through?
So I've been for a lot of therapy. Therapy is an amazing thing. I'm all for it. I'm very much for talking about what you're going through. My first reaction when I got diagnosed was I was going to keep it a secret. That was my very first reaction.
Wow.
That it was no shush, no one needs to know. We're going to keep this a secret. I'm not going to be the next, you know, I don't need to be the next person on the block that they're all talking about, which I was anyway, but it's okay. You know, one day it's me, the next day it's someone else.
Exactly.
But my point is, talking about it really, really helps, because there's so much help out there and there's so much support out there. And why go through something alone when you can have so many people holding your hand and helping you through it?
Absolutely. That's very true.
So, and that's how you keep your faith. And talk to God. I'm a big believer. Talk to Hashem. He truly, truly listens. You know, and even after, you know, him taking my two sisters, which is something that I will never understand and I will never heal from. But I trust that he knew what he was doing, even though I will never understand it. But he held my hand every single step of the way, and he continues to hold my hand every single step of the way. So I can't just tell someone to believe, because you truly have to believe, and either you do or you don't. But we truly did. We didn't lose faith along the way, and he really guided us, and he hasn't let us down yet. And so really.
And he won't.
Beautiful. You want to say closing remarks?
Yeah, I just think that like thinking back on everything you said, you constantly chose to see Hashem guiding you. You know, I don't know how conscious that choice is. I'm sure it is, because obviously the natural reaction and the natural response is to the doom and the gloom and the depression and the anxiety and the fear. That's just the human natural response. And it's incredible. It really is incredible. I'm sure everybody, you know, that's watching is moved by that you constantly choose to see how Hashem is guiding you, and Hashem is putting the people and the plan in place to cure, you know, and caring for you along the way. And yeah, and I bless you with many, many, many happy, healthy years right here down the block.
Amen. Thank you.
And to continue to inspire. So, you know, everybody that you want to see if there's anybody has questions or?
Yeah, I mean, it's already been an hour. If anyone has any comment, actually on Facebook, someone asked for Shlema. So since we're talking about healing and health and all of that, for Shlema, for Chana Dvor Bat Basha, and for Moshe Wolf Bat Yetka, who I know is in the middle of going through chemo now as well, and anyone that needs a healing and Rabbi Sachs Yaakov Triban Liba, I believe is his name, was cancer. Thank you very, very, very much for sharing your story. For all those who are watching, if you know someone else has a very beautiful story to share with the community, I think this is going to keep up the conversations on Thursday night. Debbie, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it, because honestly, like I said, talking about your experience is also very therapeutic. And just remember, guys, take your pain and channel it with goodness, and it really, really helps. It really.
Yeah. Thank you. So
What was that line? Say that line one more time that your brother said.
Take your pain and channel it with goodness.
Oh, goodness.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
On that note, there's a few announcements about classes that we have besides for the nightly classes every night, every Monday night, 8 o'clock p.m. All of the classes now are 8 p.m. to keep it simple and straight. It's always the same time. Every Monday night, a Parsha class, Torah Unzipped on Monday at 8, and Thursday night, different conversations. God willing, starting in 2 Tuesdays from now is the upcoming JLI course, Secrets of the Bible, 6 fascinating stories that you all know the story, but I'm sure none of us fully understand the inner story of the story and the life lessons for us. There's an early bird discount that ends today. You can go to our website, mychabadcenter.org/JLI to sign up for that. And starting this coming Tuesday at 11, my wife will be doing a Torah and Tea, a brand new series of women of the Bible. Different heroic women. We heard from Debbie tonight, but the biblical heroes, all different famous and powerful women in the Bible, and each week will be a different class discussing a different one of these heroic ladies. Every Tuesday at 11. Are you on Facebook? Maybe we'll convince you to go on Facebook as well. Every Tuesday at 11
on Zoom.
On Zoom. You can check our website. You'll see the information. Everything we have is on our Facebook page as well. Debbie, if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see all the comments of everyone that's saying how brave you are and what an inspiration you are. I agree with every one of them. God should bless us that we don't need to know from any illness or any sickness. We should always be able to help others and to only know of happiness until the coming of Mashiach. There'll be no more sickness, no more cancer, and of course, your sisters will come back, and your grandmother, and all of those that have lost loved ones be reunited, God willing, very, very soon.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for watching. And Laila Tov.
Good night.